Welcome to the Biz Doctor Podcast, my love letter to business owners the world over. I'm your host, Lauren Goldstein, award-winning business consultant and advisor fondly nicknamed the Biz Doctor by my clients. I help business owners who are burning the candle at both ends diagnose what is actually keeping them buried in the day-to-day busy work, and then formulate a treatment plan to adjust their business and team to fit them, so they can take a breath and a vacation and have more fun making a bigger impact than ever. So grab your favorite beverage and your earbuds, and let's dive into our latest episode. Whether you like it or not, you're always building your personal brand and narrative, so you might as well control it. So often as business owners, we tend to forget that there are two brands in our business brand and our own personal brands as entrepreneurs. Some might even argue that your personal brand is one of the most important things to focus on, especially if you want to become a thought leader or a sought-after industry expert, which is why I'm so excited for you guys to hear today's episode. Welcome back to the Biz Doctor Podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Goldstein, and I'm joined in the studio by Rachel B. Lee. Let me take a moment to introduce you to Rachel so you can see why I am so excited to have her on the show and dig into how we can all be more successful on and offline. Rachel B. Lee is a branding expert and LinkedIn top voice. She started her career at a marketing agency, Walton Isaacson, and managed some of Unilever's first social media-driven consumer activations, including Axe One Night Only. She created a multi-million-dollar brand repositioning and messaging strategy on modern selling and LinkedIn for the Microsoft Partner Network, which still reaches millions. She is co-owner and CMO of StandOut Authority with her husband, Joshua B. Lee, supporting the top 1% of business executives and owners in defining their personal brand, becoming a thought leader through content, and creating human connections online through the power of LinkedIn. Long story short, Rachel has the branding and marketing strategy chops to break down how to help you be more successful on LinkedIn and beyond. I'm so glad to have you on the show so we can really dig into this often misunderstood topic. So welcome to the show, Rachel.
Hello, Lauren. Great to be here. Hey, everybody.
I am so excited to really dig into this. And I know I shared a brief look at how you got here, but I would love to have you walk us through more about how you work with business owners and leaders, and specifically what gets you so passionate about this work.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for a little bit of the background. I'm not a traditional natural born entrepreneur in the sense of, didn't go to college, opened my first business, and I've been doing this for a couple decades like my husband, Joshua B. Lee. I did my undergrad at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. I got an MBA at the University of Texas, McCombs School of Business. So I have the traditional education, higher education, and in those experiences, I've been able to work with some really, really big brands. My passion has always been in understanding people. And what's amazing about branding is that you have to think about the customers and the people that you're trying to go after. Who's your core audience? And then how do we take our product or service and have it resonate with them so much so that they want to buy, and buy not just once, but continue to buy, right? That customer lifetime value. In my experience of working with these big brands in tech on the consumer side, Microsoft, Gartner, Axe, I had this feeling inside of me. I've always had the entrepreneurial bug in me, but it was also in the midst of transformation for myself during COVID, a lot of just that reimagining of who I am, Lauren, like so many of us in 2020, 2021. I had that feeling I really needed to take this time and take that entrepreneurial bug and make it something real. And I'm really lucky because I have my husband, Joshua B. Lee, who had already founded StandOut Authority. We had been doing some stuff on the side. And I had him to support me in making that leap. And the reason why I made that leap is, again, with the same idea, is how do we bring value to people? What I've come to realize after working with the biggest brands in the world is that we're really just humans. And in a world that is moving so technology first, so digital first, mobile first, social media, AI, this is what's driving conversations. This is what's driving marketing. This is what's driving new product innovation, which is all great. And what's happening in that process is that we're losing our ability to really communicate with each other and create relationships. And I don't care what AI, what new product or business or innovation, nothing will ever beat a human to human connection and a relationship. And I think people are actually craving that now more than ever before
Mm-hmm.
because we're using computers and technology so much. And so that's what we're focused on with Standout Authority. We're on a mission to humanize the way businesses go to market. And so instead of marketing a big brand like I've done in my past, I'm focused on marketing the people like
Mm.
yourself, Lauren, because ultimately, even at the biggest companies in the world, I'm going to buy from somebody there. I'm going to have a conversation with somebody on the phone or have a chat that I hope is a human in some way in augmentation, right? Or at least we try to make the bots feel like humans. And so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to do that through thought leadership strategy development and implementation, through the use of LinkedIn as our power platform and vehicle for delivering that thought leadership, and then also through training. So we also guide people through the process of how do you attract, engage, and convert your audience, all without spamming or selling people so that you become a standout authority.
I love that. And it really resonates with me because I think it was maybe, I don't know, 2 years ago where I had been building the Golden Key Partnership brand for a really long time. And then I just had this epiphany of, you know, I'm not Nike, I'm not Lululemon. Like I'm not trying to build something like a brand like that. Really, people, to your point, work with me for me and my background. And so that was really when I started shifting away from Golden Key Partnership. I'm Golden Key Partnership to Golden Key Partnership is a part of me. And so I'd love for you to walk us through a little bit more of the concept of building your personal brand. What exactly does that mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm also going because you're talking a little bit about the company brand versus the personal brand. And so I'm going to address that too, and then say, okay, how do we actually
Perfect.
build our personal brand? So, because I am trained and have a lot of experience in building brand identities for huge organizations or even small businesses like myself, when you're building the brand identity and value proposition of a company, you have to first think about what is the vision and mission for the company, right?
Mhm.
So that's a long-term play of what are we trying to bring to market so that it can help people in some way,
Mhm.
right? From that, you then create your value proposition, which is a statement, a narrative around who do you serve? So who's the audience? What do you do? How do you do it differently than your competitors? Right? What industry are you in? These are key pieces of developing your value proposition as a company.
Mhm.
And then you think about what does that look like, your visual identity, and then how do you tell that story, right? Through your go to market plan. So taking that same framework, how do we apply that to our personal brand? Well, first of all, our personal brand is ultimately about you,
Mhm.
right? I like to say, and I learned this from one of the VPs at Gartner, is that a personal brand is one, and how most people would say it is, oh, it's how people see me. So how
Mm.
others see me. It's my brand reputation. It's my perceptions, the impressions and perceptions of people. Very true. And that is fact. And so when people are like, I don't care what people think and all that stuff, I say BS. Yes, you do. It's just not the world that we live in. It's,
Yeah.
especially as a business professional, perceptions are everything, and people are making impressions of you actually in less than 1 second. So before you
Mm.
even heard me, if you're watching me right now, you already were having an impression of who I am simply by the color of my hair, the necklace I'm wearing, the look of me, the color of my skin, the way my name is, right? So you already have this impression. So the question is, what impression do you want people to have of you? And
Mhm.
that other part comes down to how do you see yourself?
Ooh.
And you've heard probably from other branding experts that personal brand experts that it's an inside job. I don't know,
Mm.
maybe you
Mhm.
have or haven't heard that Jessica Zweig, Maria Forleo, some of the more entrepreneurial spiritual life kind of business women. And so that piece to me is the sticking point of what differentiates a company brand versus a personal brand. And it's also what people struggle with so much and why they don't know how to build a personal brand, because they don't really know who they truly are. And so often we have been creating a life for somebody else, right? I mean, I went to business school. I got a job. I was like, I got to get my MBA. I want to work for corporate. I want to work on the big brand. Got the big corporate job. And I'm rising and I'm rising and I'm rising. And I didn't feel like connected. There was something in me, like a knowing, as Glennon Doyle will say, but like something was off. So that off feeling, or that little piece, is how you see yourself and how you build a personal brand that feels really 100% aligned to you and authentic. And it's a journey. It's an evolution. I always say that, like, there's no stopping point of building your brand. So to simplify it, how do you do that? Okay, Rachel, great. I'm ready. Like, how do I do that? Well, there are 4 steps that you can, as you're listening today or watching today, you can get a piece of paper and you can start to think about. So first things first is, what are your skills? And so think about your skills are your superpowers. And if you don't know what your superpower is, then go text or email or call 10 different people and ask them, what would you come to me for? What would you come to me for? How would I help you? And particularly like for business, I don't want you to think about this as, I am a really resilient leader. I am a really great problem solver. Those are fantastic soft skills, and they will round out why people work with you, but they are not why people work with you. Right? So people work with me because I know branding and marketing and communications really, really well. And I have a lot of experience and credibility that shows that. You are not going to work with me if you want advice on healthcare or manufacturing.
Yeah.
And Lauren, you have a crazy great skills in operations and excellence in team building. Those are your skills, hardcore skills. So that is such a critical piece in developing your personal brand, and directly will actually relate to how you build your LinkedIn headline. The second piece is, who's your audience? I'd say, Lauren, the audience piece is the hardest, most misunderstood piece of people's businesses.
Ooh, tell me why.
So there's a difference between who you aspire to be your client or to be your buyer and who actually is.
Oh, man. That just broke my brain.
Yes. And when I say audience, I'm saying who can relate and understand you because of your background and your experience.
Okay.
So things for me are the fact that I'm a woman, the fact that I'm a stepmom, the fact that I'm a mom, the fact that I was in corporate, I have an MBA, the fact that I worked in technology and understand the channel ecosystem. These are all very specific things that I have evidence of, that I can have specific conversations with people in those industries. Do I sometimes want to have another audience, maybe a more aspirational? Yeah. But if they're not willing to pay me,
it's so true.
you can't go after it. And what an additional piece of the audience is, well, I like everybody. I could help everybody, actually. Wrong. You can't. No marketer, no branding, no business person ever will say, yeah, go after everybody. And in a world that we're living in, that's moving, the innovation and the pace of change is faster than ever before, right? We're in the digital revolution, and what has happened in the last 20 years is more than it's ever happened in the hundreds of years before. So what that means is you're not different in the sense of like, there's only one person that knows marketing like me. Well, there's a lot of people that know marketing and branding and communications like Rachel B. Lee, but they don't have my exact experiences. They aren't a dog mom, right? They didn't go through IVF. They didn't do da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. that makes it very unique to me. So the audience piece is really, really, really critical and pretty much what will make or break the success of your business. And more than anything, and you talk a lot about this too, Lauren, is how much you like your business.
Yes. That's one of my favorite things. Yes.
You want people to like their business, be able to step away from it. And my gosh, like if we're going after people because they have a lot of money, but they're so disconnected from what we want to do, then that's a problem too, right? Okay. So audience, then 3 is your differentiation. This is another super, super critical piece of branding and marketing strategy, period. Whether you're building a company value proposition or your own value proposition. Why should people work with you? What gives you specific credibility? Why should I trust you? So as I'm thinking about this for Rachel B. Lee, I need to build experiences that show my audience that I'm legit.
Mm-hmm.
Things like an MBA, a BBA, things like speaking at certain places, having certain certifications, right? You're going to know what works best for your business, for your industry, right? On what's going to create that differentiation. The differentiation will then also be effective in how do you actually do your messaging, right? So the fact that I've really hit on this branding lady boss over and over and over has really resonated as a piece of differentiation. But that comes from the fact that I got my MBA. I've been around the best business people. There aren't that many ladies that are sitting in those rooms and in those places. So the lady boss actually came from that in B school with my women in business.
Wow.
We say, well, so to me, there's a deeper reason for all of that, right? That actually comes from the real experiences that I've had. And then the last piece is your passion. And so when we say, how do you see yourself? How do others see you? When you want to build a personal brand that feels super authentic, you have to think about what gives you energy and makes you excited every day.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I love speaking. I love being able to talk to an individual, hear their story, and help them share their voice. Like I see things and connect the dots that they can't do for themselves. And then when an individual does that, it's like a complete change in their confidence and then the possibilities for their career. I'm really passionate about that. And that comes through in my personal value proposition and also what StandOut Authority does. So you could really feel this connective tissue into the personal brand, into the company brand for StandOut Authority. It's a lot easier to drive those connections, Lauren, by the way, when you are an entrepreneur business owner. For those that are listening, that are employed by somebody else, what you get to do is create your personal brand, like we just said, those 4 steps, and then think about the company.
Mm-hmm.
And where's the crossover? Where's the crossover? When there is really true passion and experience and audience and all the things that you love, also in that company, that's how we create employees and teams that love where they work, that are advocates, right? That have great retention with clients and with the employees themselves.
Oh, wow. That was sensational. I love how you broke that down. I also really, something I very much appreciate with you and working with you is you do what I do for my clients, which is connect those dots. Because I think when you're so close to yourself, it's hard to see your gifts. It's also, Joe Dispenza talks about this, about breaking the habit of being yourself and like peeling away those layers of things and beliefs and who am I that aren't really you. And so you talked about authenticity. And so I want to dive a little bit deeper into that because I feel like it's a little bit of an elephant in the room, especially with women, that I think keeps a lot of people out of the spotlight. And that's the fear of being judged or imposter syndrome if you actually do step into the vulnerability of being truly authentic online. So I'd love for you to share a little bit more about that like itty bitty shitty committee of like, who am I to share this or talk about that can sometimes pop up when you enter the arena of your personal brand?
Yeah. This is where I think strategy becomes really powerful when we're having those moments of imposter syndrome, or should I post or should I share or whatnot. Um, when you're clear on who you are and what you're trying to say to the world, it creates a lot more confidence when we're actually trying to say those things. So, you know, it's not like Lauren, I started to be really active around sharing my brand consistently, getting super clear that I'm going to talk about branding and marketing, my career journey, right? My content themes, my value proposition. I got really clear with that in about 2020, let's call it 2021. So fast forward a couple years, here we are, and I have, 18,000 followers on LinkedIn. It's all organic, and I became LinkedIn top voice, which is a really, really proud moment, right? And I get tons of messages and I get tons of engagement. But it didn't start out that way, right? And it's not like I knew what to say all the time. What I knew was, Lauren, do you ever have those feelings you're on a walk or whatever, and you're just like, oh my God, I need to talk about that. Like, so I have this feeling and like somebody else is feeling this too.
Totally.
That moment, you need to capture it. I had one of those yesterday. I have them all the time because now I'm like getting more and more used to being a content creator the last couple of years. I was coming home, full day of work. We have so much stuff happening with our family. Not so great in some areas, but ran out to go quickly to the grocery store after we did this, we did that. And I'm coming home, rushing home. And I'm like almost there. And I'm thinking about all the groceries in the back and like all the things going on. I'm like, how do women do this? Like working moms. It's just working moms. I see you. I see you. And the reason why we do this is for love. And we do it through support and community. Like I felt this, and I quickly got out. When I got out of the car, I took my video out and I just did that, a 30-second of that video. And then I sent that over to my content team. And that's a piece of my authenticity, right? Because that feels so true to me. And then one of my content themes is really around my career journey and what it is to be a business owner now, and what it is to be a business owner plus be a stepmom and a mom. And so for you to fight your imposter syndrome, it has to feel really meaningful to you and aligned with things that you should actually be talking about. That's another key piece too, Lauren. Don't talk about things that you shouldn't be talking about.
Say more about that.
I think people will probably, the first thing you're thinking is like, okay, there's so much politics, right? And like everybody has an opinion. That is one area, most certainly. I think before the craziness of what we're experiencing here in the States, like politics is a very touchy subject. Unless you are in politics, be careful, right? Because again, what do we start this with? People are making impressions of you in less than a second. So if you're going to use online to vocalize your personal beliefs, it's not just politics. That can be around, it could be around the family, how families should look, how people, right? Minority. I mean, there could be so many things like that, right? You get to be really clear on how do you think that's going to affect your career. And that's what I'm most focused on, Lauren. When I think about marketing, when I think about social media, yes, it's a vehicle to share my voice authentically, but not without accountability and responsibility.
I think that's so key, especially with so many, I'm using air quotes, content marketers out there.
So many. Everybody's got something to say. Most of the time, the things that you're seeing, those people have no right in saying them.
Hmm.
They do not, they're not validated. They have no experience in what they're talking about. Or if they have, it's like maybe a year's worth. So what makes you so knowledgeable about something with so little experience?
Hmm.
So people come off as true subject matter experts when they're not.
Yep.
So I think all that to be said, your question is like, let's talk, like, what should you say? What shouldn't you say, right? What do you want to be known for? What are you trying to use your online presence for? And don't tell me that it's just to like share my voice. I'm going to tell you all content, the creator economy, people that are like, I just want to create content. I'm going to make these videos about whatever. Small sliver of you will make more than $50,000. And then let me tell you, it's not enough. You'll be lucky to make $50,000 by just your content, which means you got to have a real job or have a business to pay for yourself. It ain't going to be from your content creation making silly videos. Small percentage, right, is going to actually create a living wage off of their content. And sure, there's a lot of people that can aspire for it. I have a 15-year-old and a 12-year-old, and we're like, cool, how are you going to monetize? How are you going to build a business out of this?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So those are my guardrails as a businesswoman and as who runs a marketing business. I'm thinking about, yes, how is it being authentic? How does it feel good and aligned? But truly, how is this going to affect my career and my business?
Mm. Do you know what I love most about? I mean, there were a lot of things, but I think the biggest takeaway I'm taking away from that, and hopefully you guys heard it too, is it's not about volume, because I think a lot of people think that it's like a numbers game and you just got to churn out all of this stuff and eventually something will go viral or you'll get a client from it. But what I'm hearing you say is it's actually the opposite. The more thoughtful you are, the more instead of a mile wide and an inch deep, going an inch deep or a mile deep and an inch wide, you're going to have a far bigger chance of success, of connection, of actually getting what you want. And I think also what I liked about this is the idea of structure actually gives you more freedom and flexibility, where I think a lot of times people buck structure because they're like, I don't want to be pigeonholed or this or that. But actually, if you have that strategy and you have that plan, it actually allows you to play a little bit more. Now, I want to talk about LinkedIn because when it comes to going to market and channels and avenues that are important for different kinds of businesses, I think a lot of people are sleeping on LinkedIn, or they're intimidated, or, oh my gosh, they're just inundated by the sleazy people that like I the other day, I get a little spicy about this. Like I thought it was a genuine connection. I was like, oh, this will be great. And then 30 seconds after I accepted it, I got the spiel and I just decided that I was going to choose violence. So I responded back and I was like, damn, I fell for it again. I thought this was a genuine connection. I'm really not interested. Like I'm going to unconnect with you. But I'd love for you to talk about LinkedIn and really the power that can help you harness.
Yeah, great question. So a couple things, because I like to give context, as you can tell, and then I'll go a little bit deeper. So when I worked at Microsoft, the acquisition of LinkedIn, which how many of your listeners know that Microsoft owns LinkedIn? They bought it officially, it went down like 2017 for $26 billion. It's always shocking to me how many people still don't know that.
I think
years later.
I think I knew that, but now you're like reminding me. I'm like, oh yeah, they do own it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, people are a lot more aware that Facebook, Instagram, whatever, Meta. Anyways. So when you think about LinkedIn, this is not a traditional social media platform.
Mm-hmm.
The way that TikTok, YouTube, Meta, let's just call it those main ones, right? Make their money is through ad revenue. That's just
Mm-hmm.
it. Google is an advertising platform. I mean, it's a lot of other things, but it's an advertising platform. Go look at their P&Ls.
Mm-hmm.
Go look at Meta's. And as much as Meta's been trying to go into VR or whatever,
yep,
still an advertising company. TikTok's still trying to be an advertising company, right?
Yeah.
So that's not what LinkedIn is. So LinkedIn was built to be a networking tool, really to connect recruiters with job seekers, right? Over 20 years ago. And so it's a product. This is a product-based platform. The first product was the recruiter tool, which is still a very large percentage of their business. So you're paying recruiters, big companies, to use LinkedIn to find the right talent, right? It's a product. They're getting paid by big companies for the product. Then there's also the LinkedIn sales side, which is the sales navigator business that helps sales teams in prospecting and finding the right people for potential clients and customers. Another piece of their business that brings in millions and millions of dollars. And then you have their LinkedIn marketing. That's the advertising piece. And it's grown exponentially the past several years from COVID. That is where people are using advertising, sponsored posts, right? For company pages primarily. They just started creating some thought leader ads that are actually promoting the personal brands. But it's been focused on company advertising, lead, and it's usually it's more expensive. It's why a lot of people haven't leveraged LinkedIn as much as, let's say, any other paid social platform or programmatic or Google search, etc. And then you also have LinkedIn Learning, right? Which was the acquisition of lynda.com from years ago. So I like to give context into that because all of that is a product-based business that is then owned by Microsoft. Microsoft is now pretty much owns OpenAI, plus it has Azure. So you just do a little bit of stipulation that you want to do around the number one company in the world in terms of market cap, right? This is way beyond advertising and social media. This is big, long time play. You know, when Josh talks about AI, for instance, OpenAI, now owned by Microsoft, connected to LinkedIn, everything that's getting fed into OpenAI, including your profile and your content, you kind of do what you want from marinate on what that means in terms of how everybody's using generative AI and it's fueled by the data that's out there. A lot of that data is being pulled from LinkedIn. Uniquely LinkedIn, because guess what? LinkedIn doesn't share a lot of data. But of course, because it's owned by Microsoft. Again, so why LinkedIn? You could read in between the lines. I mean, come on, guys, come on. You know, this is a much bigger play. Now thinking about LinkedIn as a platform for your to get your voice out there, to get your company out there. It is the only platform that businesses trust, it's the number one trusted platform for any sort of business and B2B, B2B anything. Most B2B leads, most B2B anything happens through LinkedIn. 80% of the people on LinkedIn are business decision makers. So what does that mean? These are the people that are going to buy your product. They get the final say. And usually, Lauren, we're operating in a B2B, even though we at StandOut Authority believe there's no B2B or B2C, only H to H, human to human. That is all true. And we're StandOut Authority working with Golden Key, right? Whatever X company. And then we're humans talking about that to get the deal done, right? To close the deal, to execute on our partnership. So we're a B2B relationship, even as small businesses. And they're the only platform to really have that conversation is on LinkedIn. So, okay. Now all that's happening, then why the hell aren't people on LinkedIn, Lauren? Like, here we are. Why aren't people there? Well, over 1 billion people have profiles on LinkedIn. So the difference is that they're not as active as somewhere like TikTok or Instagram, where people are spending hours a day on their feed. People are spending less than an hour on their feed on LinkedIn. But what that does mean is that if you are engaging and posting consistently, you have so much more opportunity for visibility, because a lot of people are just information seekers. They're just viewing, they're not activating. And so that gives you an opportunity to get a lot of eyeballs on you with a lot less work, to the point that you were making before.
Mm-hmm.
And Lauren, we talked a lot about this, right? It's like there's this energy with content on, especially on other platforms like Instagram or TikTok or YouTube, where I need to create videos. I need to do it every single day. It needs to have all this, and I need to freaking like hit it and that takes not only a lot of time, it costs me money, because time is money. So whether I hire somebody to do it or I'm doing it myself, it's hours and hours and hours. And I can't stand Instagram right now. I get nothing. Like, unless you're paying to play or you're in real this and that, and you're hacking this and this, you don't get visibility. It's not the case on LinkedIn. So there's a lot of organic reach. And the more you connect with people, the more you'll get opportunity. And I don't mean opportunity like impressions and, nice engagement rate. I mean like actual business opportunity, which includes making a 5 or 6 figure deal from a connection that you made on LinkedIn. Does that mean that you're going to have hundreds and hundreds of those every day? No, this is smaller audience. You get upwards of 30,000 connections, unlimited followers. This is not about reaching millions and millions and millions of people. This is about reaching the right people in a really targeted way in a business setting, right? So especially if you own a business, this is a really powerful platform.
What I really love about LinkedIn, beside the SEO value, the fact that it's easier to play in the sandbox, I love that it helps you stay top of mind, because I think so many deals are missed, not because you're not the best, but because somebody can't think of who to connect their client to or themselves to, because they haven't seen you or heard from you in a little while. So I love that the consistency that you're talking about. If you take away the overwhelming, I've got to post 3 times a day and do a newsletter every week and all this stuff, and you just start showing up consistently and making those connections and supporting one another, then you become that person where they're like, hey, I need a branding and marketing expert to help me with my business and LinkedIn. And they think of you and Joshua. Or, I'm feeling overwhelmed and burned out by my business and I want to get out from underneath it. So they think of me, the biz doctor. And so I think a lot of people are sleeping on LinkedIn when they shouldn't be. So,
couldn't agree more.
Yes. Now, I know we have talked about a lot of things, which is great. And I know y'all listening are probably asking yourself, how do I connect with Rachel? So before we get to my last 2 questions, and trust me, you guys are going to want to stick around to hear her answer these, why don't you share how listeners can further connect with you and Joshua?
Yeah, of course, connect with me on LinkedIn, the Rachel B. Lee. The B is important because it helps for my differentiation in terms of my SEO. But yeah, definitely connect with me on LinkedIn with a personalized invite, right, Lauren? So, hey, I heard you on the Biz Doctor and learned this or loved hearing it. Personalized invites, it's another quick tip on LinkedIn, are really important. There's so many people that aren't doing that. Mm-hmm. Also on Instagram, the Rachel B. Lee. Those are the 2 that I hang out the most, on Facebook here and there. And then, of course, StandOutAuthority.com. You can find out more information about us, our services if you're interested, our training that's on demand, and upcoming training that's happening.
Perfect. Okay. So as much as I feel like you and I could jam on this for a long time to come, it's almost time for us to close out this episode. So we've covered a lot, but are there any last nuggets or pieces of advice or perspective that you want to make sure our listeners get today, or kind of asked in a different way? What don't people ask you that you wish they would?
I think that I just got the question, how do you become a LinkedIn top voice? I've been getting that a lot. And being top voice is nice maybe for an ego kind of thing, right? Sure. Give me a badge. Thank you, LinkedIn, for honoring me with that and validating. You're validating. The question isn't how do you become a LinkedIn top voice? The question is, what legacy do you want to leave to the world? How do you want to be remembered?
Ooh, that gave me goosebumps, especially considering this is a similar question that I ask my clients of like, why are you building your business? Like, what is it all for? And I think so many of us are going through the motions every day, just doing what we think we should be doing without asking ourselves, how do you want to be remembered? What is your legacy? Why are you putting in all this time and effort? So I think that's a great question. I'm gonna write that down. Okay. Last question. I ask all my guests, what is a book that you think every business owner or entrepreneur should read and why? And you can have more than one if you want.
So big fan of Adam Grant
Mm-hmm.
and his relatively recent book, Think Again, I just can only hope that every single person in the world could read this, because it is about how we need to question the way in which we think, the assumptions that we make, and really approach everything that we do as science, as a scientist, as an investigator. I'll leave it at that, but it is just, especially in the world we live in today, Lauren, and especially as women, and especially as business owners, we get to really think about what are we doing here? Why are we doing it? And how are we doing it? Right? And how are we having the conversations we're having? Who are we choosing to be? Who are we choosing to be around other people, So I think it's a phenomenal book. And then the other one that I'm still listening to, but I'm just continuing to be blown away, is Never Split the Difference, which was recommended to me by pretty much every entrepreneur, Chris Voss.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I'm already really enlightened by what he's talking about with negotiation. It's like mind blowing. So I would say that's a whoa. And I'm kind of hard to impress sometimes. Because I have I say that because I have a high threshold for what I believe is great work, great content, because I've been around and learned from some of the best. So those are two solid reads that I'm astounded by the reading, and I hope others will enjoy it too.
Well, I'm excited. I wrote them down on my little sticky note here, and I will be ordering those from Amazon later today because Lord knows I need more books for my book dragon lair. But those sound great.
I listen to Think Again, and I'm listening. I love listening. I do both because I read more fiction and listen to nonfiction.
Oh.
I love when the author, so Adam Grant, reads it, and Chris Voss doesn't actually, but I really enjoy if the author is also talking me through, because then I feel like I'm like in a lecture or workshop with them. That's just,
Okay. I won't dive into the debate of if listening to something counts as reading. Yeah.
Girl, it does. When you're busy, that's all that matters.
Oh, it counts as like taking in information.
Yeah.
But when somebody's like, I read 50 books this year, and I'm like, you listen, but you listen to them.
I would concur with that. I would concur.
So different parts of the brain. That's my science nerd coming out. But anyway, I just want to say thank you so much for being on the show and sharing your expertise. You shared so many valuable nuggets that I haven't heard before, and I've known and been working with you guys for a while. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much, Lauren. Thanks everybody for having me and listening.
Of course. So sadly, that is it for this week's episode. Thank you so much for listening in. If anything that we shared sparked something in you, we'd love for you to rate and review the show and share this episode with your friends or other business owners. I'd also love hearing from you, so let's connect. Tag or DM me on Instagram, and it's Lauren Goldstein, or LinkedIn, or wherever you hang out on the interwebs. Lastly, don't forget to subscribe so you're the first to get notified when our next episode is live and ready for your ears. Thanks so much for listening. Until next time. listening to the Biz Doctor podcast. Now, I like to say that friends don't let friends WebMD your business. So if you're wondering what your next steps could be, here are some options for you. No matter what, head to the show notes or to my website, goldenkeypartnership.com, for some impactful resources to support you getting out from under your business. That's also where you'll find the links to learn more about our services and how we support business owners, just like you, who are ready to make the successful jump from business operator in the trenches to visionary business owner with more freedom and flexibility. All of that info is on our website, so pop on over to learn more or get in touch. goldenkeypartnership.com. Finally, if you love the Biz Doctor podcast, I'd be so grateful if you would share it with your friends and network and give us a 5-star rating or review wherever you listen to your podcast.
This is Story Studio Network.